My friends, rave babies, festival season is upon us. Honestly, it's never left because I swear there's like an event every weekend, right? I mean, Ultra Miami just happened like 2 weeks ago. I think it was last weekend. And then Coachella is in like next weekend, and then EDC is the month after. And it's just like, there's an event, all the lineups are dropping right now. So it's always festival season. Regardless, these are some of the best experiences that you will ever have. I mean, I love going to big festivals, small festivals. Like, I just love music festivals. They bring people together. We all get to dance. We love music, right? It's just a great experience for everyone. Everyone is there to have the best time of their life and, just have fun. But how do you make sure you're going to have the best experience possible? Welcome to Brandon's Guide on Being a Festival Hoe. That's me. This video is all about how you can maximize your experience at these festivals. I'm going to be sharing some of my own personal experiences and some of my own tips and tricks that I found throughout the years. The whole goal of this video is to just help you feel more prepared for the event that you're going to be going to. Let's dance. First, plan ahead. By far, the most exciting part of any music festival is the artists that are going to be playing it, right? And they're the artists that you love. They're like the whole experience almost, and it's just, I would hate for you to miss one of those artists that you want to see. Every festival typically releases set times about a week before the event takes place, so take a look at those times, mark down which ones that you want to go see. Some of these festivals have apps where you can favorite which artists are your favorite, right? And then it'll give you a whole like schedule of when they're on. Do this especially if you're going with like a bigger group. That way you guys can, split off if you need to, or you can, communicate effectively with your group. This will help determine what time you actually want to get to the festival. I mean, there's been a couple of times where I've missed artists because just of lack of communication, right? And it just kind of sucks overall. Coordinate with your group to avoid any situations like that. You should also plan ahead meetup spots in the festival grounds, right? They're searching for a single person in a crowd of thousands is incredibly difficult. There tends to be a lot of art installations or landmarks at these festivals, so just choose which one's the spot for the day, right? Choose a specific time to meet up, choose specific different times throughout the day to meet up. Doing this is just helpful to make sure you know where all of your group members are at, your friends are at, right? It's especially helpful because it sucks to miss an artist because you didn't make it to the festival in time, but it sucks to miss an artist when you're actually at the festival and you're spending all of your time trying to look for everyone else. So try to avoid that too. It's a good thing to plan ahead. The other reason I bring up planning ahead is because of transportation, and I'm going to be making a lot of references to one of my favorite festivals, EDC. It's a great time, but there are also things that you probably want to avoid. Traffic will be your worst nightmare. It doesn't matter if you're staying half an hour away. Doesn't matter if you're staying 2 miles away. Once you see the highway, you realize you should have left 2 hours ago. It seriously, like, planning ahead does huge favors for you. It'll take like 10 minutes at most, and you will be so grateful that you did because you will get there in time and you won't have to spend gas, wasting your time just sitting in traffic doing nothing. So while on the topic of transportation, let's talk about actually getting to the festival. Many festivals offer shuttles as an add-on to your ticket, and it can be anywhere from like free to $250 or something like that. I've only ever done it like twice. One time it was like 37 degrees outside and it was just a school bus. The other time it was free, but the fire hydrant where the pickup stop was exploded, and so like our feet were soaking wet when we got on. So it really just kind of depends on I guess the day or whatever, whoever's picking you up. But in my opinion, they're a great option, especially if you're from like out of state or you're traveling to these music festivals and you don't have your own car. And you need something to get the job done. They're typically a pretty good option. You can start vibing with people on the bus. You can start getting to know people, having fun on the way to the festival, which is always a good time. But on the flip side, when you're coming home and you're tired and you just want some peace and quiet, it's probably likely not going to happen. Just everyone's in their own world, and some people like to blast music, some people are just naturally loud, and so it can kind of be a vibe kill. It's all going to depend on who's on the bus with you, and it's all going to depend on a lot of different factors. If I have my car with me, I usually like to drive myself just because, I don't have to deal with strangers at the end of the night. Typically, I can get home faster, I can get to wherever I'm staying faster. And it saves me a little bit more time. It gives me a little bit more comfort. If you are planning on taking your own car, you either need to make sure you have a designated driver, right? A DD, or someone else with you that's going to be driving you home if you're planning on taking any substances, or if you're going to be under the influence, right? Because I mean, driving under the influence is illegal in every state. And you're not only putting yourself in danger, but you're also putting others at danger. You have the ability to change your whole life around in one night. And you can also change someone else's life or possibly end it. So it's something to think about, right? Be smart, be responsible, use your best judgment. Listen to Rave Dad. Another thing to look into if you do plan on driving yourself is to get a parking pass or like a parking upgrade, right? I've done the premier parking for EDC the past 2 years that I've gone. And it's honestly a game changer. I get in, I get out, and it's only taken me about an hour. It sounds like a long time, but compared to 3 to 4 hours, or I've heard upwards of like 5 to 6 hours sitting in traffic. The festival ends at 6 a.m. and some people aren't getting back to their hotels till 10:30, 11, which is insane to be sitting in traffic that long. So definitely look into it. I mean, it's about $150, $160 extra on top of your ticket, but for 3 days of getting in and out quicker, I'd say it's worth it. Now, another option that you have is you can always Uber, you can always take a Lyft there, right? But keep in mind that there are 10,000 other people with the same idea. If you don't leave soon enough, will you be sitting in traffic? But you're also gonna have to deal with surge pricing. And sometimes these Ubers can cost upwards of like $150. Like a couple of my friends did it 1 year, and I think they paid like almost $90, $100 for a 20-minute ride. Not even that far. You know, it's expensive, right? So if you're going to take that route, definitely carpool with friends, split the cost, and just make things easier on yourselves. I've never really ran into any problems going to these events aside from, traffic. So just plan ahead and you will thank yourself. That's going to be like the theme of today's video, honestly, is just planning ahead. Okay, so what in the world do you wear to these festivals? And the answer is simple. Anything you want. Like, I have a couple of jerseys from artists that I like. I've got this cool little galaxy like ribbon cloak looking thing. It just depends on what you want to do, because a lot of these festivals are about self-expression, self-love, right? So however you want to go about doing that, it's up to you. So literally just like wear whatever you want. No one's there to judge you. Everyone's there to just have a good time. So whether it's an EDM festival, right, and you want to do a cool little EDM outfit for that, go for it. If it's a country festival and you've got this cool cowboy hat and these cool cowboy boots, right? Go for it. It does not matter. Only thing I would recommend in your outfit is you have a good solid pair of shoes, right? I mean, I always wear tennis shoes. You're going to be walking around to a bunch of different stages. You're going to spend a lot of time on your feet. You're going to be dancing, right? You're going to be moving a ton. So like, I wouldn't recommend wearing heels or like sandals, anything with really like no like support for your feet, because your body at the end of the day will hate you, your feet will hate you, and it's just, no one's really looking at your feet anyways, and if they are, they're probably weird. So just wear a good pair of shoes. They will make a tremendous amount of difference. Again, I recommend like a good pair of tennis shoes, but whatever's a good pair of toe holsters for you, just use those. The other important thing to keep in mind when you're putting together your outfits is to just check the weather, be conscious of where you're going to be, what time of day it is, if it's going to be windy, rainy, snowy, like whenever this festival is happening, right? So just like keep that in mind. I would recommend bringing like a layer you can take on and off. So like a jacket, something simple. It doesn't have to be too fancy, because if you're moving around a lot, you don't want to have like a full-on winter jacket unless you're like in the Alps or something. But the whole idea just comes back to being prepared, right? It's funny how we keep coming back to that. Just be prepared, and you make a world of difference for you. Now, kind of going along with outfits, these are like my essentials that I always bring to every music festival. I can't live without them, and they just make my experience so much better, right? So we've got the hydration pack, right? It's great for holding water. You want to stay hydrated throughout the night. You can also, put stuff in your pockets. And just, it's a good way to hold things, especially if you're carrying like an extra layer if it's cold. An alternative to that could be a fanny pack, right? You can hold, smaller items. You can put your phone in it, gum, or like your ID, all that stuff you might be afraid that'll fall out of your pockets, right? Or just stuff you want to keep around your waist that you feel like you need to keep track of better. I always bring a fan, whether it's a music festival or just like a general show, right? Because it tends to get pretty hot, and so it's just nice to fan yourself It's a great way to make friends too. You can fan others, and they'll like, more often than not, they'll just thank you for your service, and they'll be like, you are a god and I love you and I want to be your friend. And it's just like, it's fun. Consider a fan. They're like $15-20, and so there's cool designs, so super cool. Another one that I've grown to love is tissues and hand sanitizer, because you'll find that a lot of the bathroom situations at these places are typically just porta potties, and sometimes the staff that's helped maintaining them can't keep up with the amount of people that's there, and sometimes the porta potties are running out of toilet paper, right? So if you're taking a dump, right, and you don't have anything to wipe your butt with, these save your life. The hand sanitizer is obvious, right? You better be washing your hands. It's gross. So like sometimes they'll have like water stations or some sort of like pump your own like water to like wash your hands, but sometimes those run out of water, and so you don't want to be walking away with, you know, poo-poo hands everywhere. So just, these are great, right? Just get a little packs of Kleenex or something like that. Another one I love to bring, sunglasses, right? Especially if it's like daytime, or if like sometimes the lights get super bright at these festivals, and so sometimes it's just nice to chill those lights out a little bit. If you have sensitive eyes, you know, they're like super bright. I mean, they're fun, they're cool. Can also help you to avoid making awkward eye contact with people if that's, you know, this is something you struggle with. So another item that I can't live without is my little pashmina, right? I mean, it's fun to just put over your head, right? And you can just, if you're feeling anxious, you can just hide yourself away from the world. It can act as another layer, right? It can help you just, you know, it adds to your festival look. It's just kind of fun, and it's, I don't know, I love these things, and if I didn't have student loans to pay off, I would probably have like 30 of them. I like these a lot. A small but pretty important one is chapstick, especially if you're going to be, you know, outside during the day. If you're going to be like in a dry climate, like this happened to me a couple times at EDC, but I would come home and like my lips would just be like super dried out and just like cracked and everything, right? Because it's in the middle of a desert. And so, you know, it's good to just have chapstick on hand and, you know, apply it throughout the night. You'll be thankful that you have chapstick. And if you don't have chapstick, make sure someone in your group does. Another item, we got earplugs, right? So these are my special, like, they're called high fidelity earplugs. The brand's called Eargasm, but there's a bunch of knockoff brands on Amazon. They're probably cheaper too. But yeah, they're super cool. They have like these special filters, you know, so that you can allow the sound to come in and doesn't just like muffle them like a regular pair of earplugs does. So I would recommend a pair, something like these, just to protect your hearing, right? But it also helps to preserve your energy throughout the night, and we will talk about that in a little bit. And last but not least, I love to wear candy bracelets, you know, whenever I go to a music festival, because they're just fun to trade around. You know, they're pretty prevalent in EDM culture, so it's just, they're fun, and I would look into them. And just, you know, you're gonna make your own, you can put your own little charms on them and all that stuff, so little messages on them, and it's just, it adds character to who you are, and it's pretty cool. So you have finally made it into the festival. It's time to celebrate, right? Let go of all your worries. Forget about the outside world, right? You are surrounded by friends, family, just whoever you're there with. It's a pretty cool feeling to have, and it's like no other. So really just like take that in and just live in the moment. Don't worry about the future. Don't worry about the past, just live in the moment. Explore the grounds, take note of where all like the water stations are, where the first aid is, where the food trucks are, where the bathrooms are, right? Knowing the grounds is really like a power move, because then you don't have to waste time searching for all these things, especially if you're on like a time crunch trying to get to a certain artist. And a little trick that I have, something that I like to do, is I like to set the, you know, every festival releases a map of the grounds. So I like to set the festival map as like my lock screen or home screen, right? So it's just quickly accessible. I can figure out where I'm going right away, and I can just, it makes things super easy for me. It's also just beneficial to know the grounds, because like we said earlier, right, if you're setting these like meeting points at certain art installations, right, it's good to know where those art installations are, so you're not wandering around for an hour or two trying to find it. An issue that I always tend to run into is not having any service while I'm there. I don't know if it's just because there's a ton of people there, or if there's just not enough cell towers in the area. You will likely run into the issue of not having service while you're at these festivals, and that can get pretty frustrating when you're trying to send a text message and it just doesn't go through, and then the other person has no idea where you are, you have no idea where that person is, and like communication just goes out the window. That's honestly one of like the biggest reasons why it's important to set these meeting points, because you might not have service. chaos. I neglected to do this with some of my friends one year at EDC, and my girlfriend ended up having to go to the med tent, and I had to take her there, and my other friends had no idea we left, and so they're like searching around for like 2-3 hours while we're just like chilling in the med tent trying to get her fixed and like figuring out what's happened. And so it was absolute chaos. So you're in the festival, this is the fun part, right? You get to have all these cool experiences, right? But how do you maximize these experiences? Something that I've learned to do is to interact with others. Like seriously, just go vibe with random strangers, right? Compliment each other's outfits, right? Just interact with those around you, because you're all there for the same thing. You're there for music, you're there to dance, you're there to have fun. Look after others, take care of others. You are essentially part of a community, and it's almost like your responsibility to, take care of others. If you see someone struggling, just ask them if they're okay, give them a little tap on the shoulder, something like that. Just anything to make sure that they feel like they're in a good spot, and it'll help you feel like you're in a good spot too. You have a great opportunity to make friends with a bunch of different people, and I've made some pretty cool friends going to these festivals that I still keep in touch with. So it's a pretty cool experience. Now, personally, one of my favorite things to do whenever I'm at a music festival is to go off and complete what I call side quests, whether it's like going to figure out where I can get a pizza sandwich, or just finding strangers to take pictures with Baby Yoda. It's so fun. You can do almost whatever you want when you're at these festivals, and it's like no one's there to judge you, right? You're just having a good time. I believe that the crowd is like 40% of the whole experience, right? So the more you have fun with strangers, the more you interact with strangers and just get to know the people around you, it just makes things so much more fun for you, and it adds to the experience. Take part of like the culture that's happening at these music festivals. What I mean by that is to really just like dive in and just go for it. An example of this is like totem poles, right? You see them a lot at like EDM festivals, and they have memes across. I saw one the other day where someone just took like the flag that they post outside of like Wendy's, right, that says like breakfast or something. It's super funny, super random, but it's a totem pole. You just want to throw Yoshi up on a stick, right? It's super fun, and you can do that. Another fun way to get involved, really in like any scene, I mean, it's not just exclusive to EDM, but trading these candy bracelets. This small little gesture it goes a long way for a lot of people, and it's just, it can be as simple as just saying, hey, I like your outfit, and you give them a candy bracelet. You don't expect anything in return, and it's pretty fun. That's how I've made a couple of my friends, and I've gotten a bunch of my own, and it's super cool to be a part of. And there's like a cute little handshake that you get to do when you trade it with people. So let me show you how to do that.
How to plur peace, love, unity, respect. Oops, candy bracelet acquired.
Okay. Take breaks. You wouldn't want to go to your job for 8 hours a day and just work for 8 hours straight, right? You want to take a break, right? You want to take a lunch break. You want to eat food. So do the same thing at these music festivals, right? You don't have to go hard for 12 hours every day. You can sit down, take a breather, make sure you're drinking water, make sure you get food, and you won't burn out before it's time to go home. Liquid IV packets or some sort of like electrolyte replenishment are good to have and bring into these festivals, right? I like to put 1 or 2 of these into my hydration pack and just sip on it throughout the night, and just, help keep my stamina, my energy levels up, help replenish those electrolytes. Being honest, I don't really know. I'm not like a health guru, so I don't know what those do. I'm kind of stupid, right? But I mean, I feel like they work. Gatorade would probably be good too. I don't know, just whatever floats your boat. So another item that I mentioned earlier, right, are the earplugs, right? Yes, they protect your hearing, but at the same time, there's this thing called listener fatigue. And essentially what listener fatigue is you are exposed to loud environments for extended periods of time. You get mentally exhausted, which also results in physical exhaustion. And so earplugs can literally help you maintain your energy levels throughout the night just by reducing that volume a little bit. So you really can't go wrong with earplugs, right? They're like one of the hidden secrets of music festivals. I mean, it's not even a secret, but a lot of people don't wear them, and you don't want to get tinnitus. Hearing loss is permanent, so just get Invest in some earplugs, especially if you plan on going to a lot of different festivals. Let's continue this conversation on energy levels. Pace yourself. Now, this might be a surprise to some people, but you can actually survive any of these events entirely sober. However, I will not discount these experiences on substances. Everyone's on their own personal journey. So instead, let's just go over how to properly use the goods. What is really important is that you pace yourself, right? These festivals are marathons. They are not sprints. There's absolutely no reason for you to be dropping 6 tabs of acid and a few points of Molly and then taking a couple shots, right? Because, like, first of all, kiss your ass goodbye. That's a ton of stuff that you're going to have to deal with in the next 45 minutes to an hour. And the other thing is you don't want to be that person that the whole group has to babysit, right? And you're going to miss out on the first half of the experience, the second half, whenever you decide to do. And you don't want to be that person. And for my friends that do like to take hard substances, or if you plan on taking harder drugs, right, you need to get a test kit and you need to test for fentanyl at minimum. Everything's being cut with a bunch of different things and they're pretty deadly. They are deadly. The tiniest amount is going to kill you. Preventable deaths hurt the community pretty drastically. So if you can afford party favors, you can afford a test kit. Use your best judgment, be safe, be responsible. Listen to Rave Dad. I care about you even if we have never met. I've linked a few drug harm reduction sites down in the description, so whatever you decide to do, whether it's just test for fentanyl or if you want to get a full kit to figure out what you're actually taking, just be safe, be responsible, and test your sheet. Going along the same lines, I would also just recommend you take a training course on, opioid overdose or just overdoses in general, because fentanyl is still a big problem, and I've seen a couple of overdoses happen at these festivals, and it's sad, it's scary. You may never know if you're in a situation where you could save someone's life. So just learning how to use naloxone, Narcan. I took a certification course the other night. It's just super informative, so I will link one of those down in the description. There's this company called End Overdose. They're super good, super cool. They also, I believe, have had booths at festivals across the United States. I'm pretty sure Dance Safe is one of them that's done a bunch of those too, right? So just consider doing that too, just because you never know if your friends may need help or a stranger around you might all of a sudden just pass out. So it's good to recognize those signs. And it comes back to this whole community aspect, being prepared and taking care of others. And you will come to realize how important it is to be nice to strangers. But if you're worried about having energy throughout the night and you feel like you need to rely on these substances for energy or, whatever it is, there's kind of like a natural workaround to this problem. And essentially, you're just like training for these music festivals. Work out in the months prior leading up to the event, because that in turn will give you more energy. And you will build up your endurance, you'll build up your stamina. And so if it can be as simple as just like walking 1 mile a day, going for a run, or you could be doing, you could get a personal trainer if you want. Literally just like exercising and being healthy before you go to the festival will benefit you, because you will be healthy walking into it and you'll get a great workout at these festivals. And it won't be your first workout and you won't go home super sore, super tired, right? I mean, you'll be tired. You'll be exhausted. It's a nice little life hack to, one, be fit and start exercising, and two, it's just your body will thank you and your mind will thank you, and you will just generally be healthier. Now, something you absolutely have to do at these festivals is explore. Oftentimes at these music festivals, there are a lot of cool other experiences, whether it's like goat yoga or like silent discos. You can go out and just like find those cool things, and it just adds to the whole experience, and it's super fun to go and find those secret little things. There could be art exhibits, there could be shopping booths, right? So seriously, just make it your own, take some time to explore the entire grounds, and just have fun with it. One of my favorite things to do at these festivals is find an artist that I've never heard of, or like an artist that I barely know of, and go check out their performance, their show, and just it lets me walk away with more than just memories of the music festival, because I can walk away with new music, a new artist to follow, and it's super fun. And that's like one of my favorite aspects of all these big events. Now imagine this, it's peak festival time, you're in the crowd amongst thousands of people, right? You're surrounded by your friends. And then all of a sudden, this group of 10 to 20 people just comes along and shoves their way past your group. Doesn't even say anything. They give you dirty looks. Wouldn't that piss you off just a little bit? So anytime you navigate through these crowds, right, just keep in mind the people's personal space, try and be respectful of it. You need to be saying, excuse me, sorry, and like, thank you to, you need to be saying these things like you're Oprah Winfrey handing out brand new SUVs to their audience, right? It's just, I'll be honest, it's very annoying. It pisses me off whenever it happens. So just like, be socially aware. It's not that hard to do. We are adults. We can act like adults. We don't need to be children, okay? Use your manners. And along with being socially aware, just be aware of your surroundings. Unfortunately, a big problem that happens at these festivals is pickpocketing. A little secret that I have figured out is it tends to happen when you are getting shoved around. That's kind of how these whole things work. So if you notice that the crowd's starting to get a little rough, or you don't want your stuff to get stolen, or you think your stuff might get stolen, just, put your hands in your pocket, make sure, your things are secured. If you have a hydration pack or, a fanny pack, hold on to it because they can unclip it, take that from you, run off with it into the crowd. You'll never see them again. Hydration pack, just flip it to the front side so they're not going through the back while you're, not, you can't, you don't have eyes on the back of your head. So yeah, just make it as hard for these pickpocketers to get to your stuff. Something that I've seen that people are doing is they wear runner's belts, which is essentially just like, it's this belt that goes under your clothes and you can put keys, your valuables, your phone into it. So people will have to actually like go up and under your clothes, which is just, it's weird, and you'll know when they're doing it so you can catch them. Something I've seen other people do is use phone tethers, but I'm not sure if I would recommend that, just because I've also seen a lot of instances where those will get cut however they do that, or they'll just snap, right? And your phone has been walked off with, and it sucks, right? One of my friends got his phone stolen at a festival, and it's just super inconvenient, super annoying, and it kills the vibe, and it's just, that's not what you want. So however you decide to combat this situation, your best bet is to just be aware of your surroundings. So we covered a lot, right? But lastly, just remember to have fun, right? Like I said, these are some of the best experiences you will ever have. Honestly, like, I'm making this video because I'm not going to be going to a lot of festivals just because I don't have money right now. I have to figure out college graduation and jobs, and I have big FOMO. But just like, keep in mind, like, yes, you may have bad experiences, but in the grand scheme of things, like, this whole music festival is going to be such a good experience for you. Music festivals have seriously given me some of the best experiences and memories of my entire life, right? Whether it's meeting new people or just getting to hang out with my friends. I love them, and I want you to have those experiences as well. So hopefully you learned some helpful tips, and I plan on doing this till the day I die. So whenever I learn any new tips or tricks, right, I will share them. So make sure you like the video if you want to see more. Subscribe, and just leave down in the comments if you have your own tips and tricks, or even if you'd like just say which festival you're going to be going to this year, or just say just anything. Say anything, really. Just comment anything. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, and I will see you on the dance floor.